new here, hello, welcome. My name is Kait. Here on this channel, we talk all about motherhood, family, home, faith. We talk a lot about foster care and adoption, as I am a foster mama. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about the Refresh Conference. If you've been following along, you know that I was at the Refresh Conference in Chicago. And I wanted to give you guys just kind of a recap of it. I took a lot of footage, so you'll see that throughout. If you are a foster parent or an adoptive parent, like, you need to go to this thing. They also do one in Seattle. That's where it originated. I'm not sure how long they've been doing it there, but this was the third one in Chicago, and I can't believe I haven't gone before. My sister-in-law lives about an hour away, and it was over our long weekend, our Thanksgiving long weekend. So it was amazing, phenomenal. Like, I cannot say enough good things about it. And if you've been following her story, you know I got some bad news kind of the end of the Thursday. I was there for 3 days. There was a pre-conference day as well. And I was just like not wanting to be there. But you know when God puts you exactly where you need to be? That was what the Refresh Conference was for me. From the second I walked in to the second I left, I felt encouraged, I felt equipped, I felt inspired, I felt like I was with my people that get what I'm going through. I've said many times on this channel that foster care is a very isolating journey. You lose relationships, you lose friendships you thought that were strong. You know, even relationships with family can be kind of distant because they don't understand the journey that you are walking on as a foster parent or an adoptive parent. I just really felt lifted up and like I was with my people, and it was just so good to be with my people, like people that get it. So the Thursday I attended the pre-conference with Jason Johnson. If you don't know him, his blog is jasonjohnsonblog.com. I'll leave it linked down below. He's been one of my favorite bloggers. I always read his posts every time he comes out with a new one. I've read his book, Reframing Foster Care. And then the pre-conference day that was with him was actually starting a foster care and adoption ministry within churches, your communities, that sort of thing, how to do that. And that's something I'm interested in, which is why I wanted to attend the pre-conference. Also because I'm just a huge fan of his. I wanted to meet him. He's actually the reason that I heard about the conference at all. Once I saw he was going to be there, I was like, absolutely.
There's some really big numbers out there. But what we want you to focus on is the one. Everyone has the capacity to change the life of at least one kid, including you. And it might not look the same as everyone else, but you have the opportunity to change the life of a kid. Not 400,000. That's easy to discard, but one is impossible to ignore. It might also mean that your church or your ministry.
Anyways, he's one of my favorites, and I really wanted to kind of talk to him and meet him, so I was actually able to have lunch with him and just talk about kind of my vision and what I wanted to do, what I wanted to start within my church, what our kind of future plans are. So everything Jason talks about just resonates so much with me, and kind of the message that I try to spread through my channel here and through my blog, and that is that everyone can do something. He wrote a book on this. I bought the book. It's a great book. Foster care and adoption, that's a cause or a purpose that's very near and dear to God's heart. And as Christians, I believe that everybody can do something and be involved somehow. That doesn't necessarily mean adopting or opening your home to be a foster home. But if you're not the ones doing it, and he called them like tier 3 helpers or tier 3 people for the James 127 cause. Like, if you're not helping, there's other ways that you can be involved and help and support those that are. And that message just really resonates with me so much because I can't do it alone. It's like I've said, it's an isolating journey. It's hard, it's difficult, but it will forever be harder to be a foster child. And it's so rewarding to be that person, to be that difference in even just one child's life. And we've had the privilege to be that difference in 9 children's life. And it's just, you know, it's given my life so much purpose. And now that I know the need, I can't go back. So anyways, his whole message was really that everybody can do something, and especially as a church, as believers in Christ, like, we all should be doing something, because this is something that is very near to the Lord's heart. You know, every time I read something he says, it's like I felt like I could have said that, but he articulates things so much better. He's a very smart man. He used to be a pastor, but he kind of equips churches to get involved and helps families, encourages families, and he's just wonderful. So again, if you don't know who he is, go check out his blog, but I'm sure a lot of you, if you're watching this, have heard of him before. Hey guys, I am just driving into day 2 of the Refresh Conference in Chicago. It is packed today. It wasn't very busy yesterday. And if you have been watching, you know I got some news last night. I'm not gonna call it bad, sad. It just is what it is. Sorry, I'm just parking here. I wanted to vlog this for you because I think the premise behind this whole conference is amazing and I'm really excited. And I did get a couple clips yesterday, but then with the rest of the news, I had nothing left in me last night to film anymore. So welcome to day 2 of the Refresh Conference. This is a conference put on by the Replanted Ministry, which is a ministry for foster parents and adoptive parents. So there's 2 main sessions and then a bunch of breakout sessions that you can choose. So I'm going to get a clip of each and kind of explain, at the end I'll explain kind of what I learned. But I want to get in there before it's too late, so I'll do a recap after. First day of the official conference, you walked in and they gave us this little booklet, workbook, whatever you want to call it. The whole theme was Mended by Gold, and I'm going to do a really cool video to kind of explain that whole Mended by Gold theme. They also gave us these little Same Here paddles. They gave us little water bottles. I don't have my water bottle here, but they had water bottles and all these fancy waters. We had the opportunity to sign up to be pampered. They had haircuts and like mini facials, that sort of thing going on. Makeup services, I think, the second day. I just felt so appreciated, and I don't do this to be appreciated. I don't really care if people recognize that what I'm doing is a good thing, and I don't really care what people say. What I'm doing is a good thing. Caring for foster children will forever be a good thing. I don't do it for the recognition or to be appreciated, but they just loved on us so well, and I'll get to it in a second, but I was in tears so much of the weekend. A lot was because what I just heard about Rosie and a second kin plan coming forth after we were told we were going to be able to adopt her. So obviously I was emotional, but God just moved me through that building. Every single session I sat in on, I was just moved. I learned something. Like, seriously, guys, I cannot talk about how amazing this conference was. So one of the things, like I was saying, was these Same Here paddles. So they had people kind of sharing their testimonies, their stories about all different situations and all different things, but how many of us could resonate and relate to it. They were sharing stories about how some kids have to be in residential centers and how they feel like failures as a parent, and how God keeps asking them to say goodbye over and over and over. And, everybody was able to connect with somebody because it's very similar struggles, problems, triumphs, issues when you're on this foster care and adoption journey.
A heart for adoption and foster care and safe families. We have a heart for it, but most of us are in the world ourselves. Like, we get you. We understand why you're here. And we are super excited for what God's going to do this weekend. There are a few things I personally am excited about. The first is you're going to hear from some really awesome, intelligent, wise speakers. Go through the caverns of my soul, pouring me to overflow. Sing it out again, Spirit of the living God. Almost anywhere else, where we get to come together and build one another up and give each other life. That is true for me as well. I am an adoptive father.
Overwhelmed. You might be in a position right now where you've been waiting for a long time for your child to come in your home. You might be grieving infertility. You might have foster children that just reunified with their birth parents. You might have teens in your home right now, and you just had to call the police and they were arrested.
So they also shared a couple of, they called them flip the scripts, and it was adoptees' perspectives.
We reached the top of the hill and suddenly started running towards the house, for thick smoke was pouring out of it. I joined him in banging on the door. but there was no answer. He quickly broke it open, and to my horror, there I saw my mama on the floor, burning up in flames.
Which, if you hadn't picked up on by now, is abandonment. I created a fake family, if you will. I would fantasize about what it was like to have a mom and a dad and to be in a nuclear family. I felt shame for being in foster care. I felt like a loser because my parents couldn't overcome their addiction. I often felt not good enough, so to counter that, I became a perfectionist. My foster mother just so happened to expect perfection.
I think in order to be a good foster parent or a good adoptive parent, that the more perspective you have, the better. To be able to see things through the eyes of the child, to be able to see things through the eyes of a social worker, professionals working with them. And that was something that this conference really allowed me to see and just gave me even more perspective. So those stories, and to be that strong and to stand up in front, I think there was like 500 people there, and share that, like those were just really beautiful. And then we talked about being mended with Curry Blanford. He's a pastor, I think in that area, or maybe he's from Dallas, I can't remember. But just talking about being mended and how God breaks us and uses hard things in our story, but mends us all back together.
My wife, though, she was on a missions trip in Dallas, and she was working with these children, and God just placed this burden on her to adopt. And from that moment, when she was 15 years old, my wife just knew that adoption was in her future. So our freshman year of college, we started dating, and it's been about a few months, and my wife informs me that not only is she called to adopt, but I'm called to adopt, which was, I mean, it's nice to know, right?
I did some breakout sessions. I did one about sensory processing disorder, because I think that's something we might be dealing with.
I wouldn't fall over. Some of our kids, lots of our kids, don't have that, or it gets confused, it's delayed, and they tumble over, and you're like, come on, you stand up, you know. Or they're leaning on you all the time because they don't really understand where their body is in space. That's a sensory processing disorder or challenge.
I did one on drug addicted infants.
But you have children born whose dopamine levels are low because their mothers used drugs during the pregnancy. So that's why so many of you have children that look like they have ADHD. The problem we get into with your children, though, some of you may have a child with ADHD who was put on Ritalin, which...
Marriage and keeping your marriage strong in foster care. That one was with Jason Johnson as well.
That works for us, right? So we just have to figure it out. Talk about non-foster and adopt things together. Like, make a rule. We're gonna go do this together, and we're not allowed to talk about it's true what we do for these kids. We know if we have a kid that can't be around music that's too loud, or environments that are too crazy, or these social places are difficult for them. We learn those things and we protect them from them. And so what if we did the same for one another, right? We commit to be quick to listen and slow to anger with kids from hard places. That's a hard one to do, but that's our resolution going into this. And so what if we commit to be quick to listen and slow to anger with one another as well? We commit to celebrate.
I did one with, I can't remember her name, but she ended up having to relinquish her rights to a child that she adopted, and how she felt like a failure, and how she had post-traumatic stress disorder from his RAD diagnosis, reactive attachment disorder. So,
or we're in a Bible study, or your family maybe had adopted. I have a brother who's adopted from Vietnam, so he's been in my family since 1972. That was always our story. Maybe you were adopted. Maybe you always just felt it on your heart.
You're in our home now, and I've got stuff in the bag. Now you wait your turn. How's he feel with that? That's how he feels with that. Now, why did he do that? Whereas if I understood his trauma reminder, take it back down. If I understood his trauma reminder, you know what I would say to him? I'd say, Josh, we didn't have you in past years. We just love having you in our family. But Josh, we start passing out treats, you might get that same feeling.
Cannot calm down unless my brain and body tell her how to do it. In the brain, in the development of the brain develops from the bottom to the top and from the back to the front. So what we know is that the part of the brain that's in charge of emotional regulation is in the very front, prefrontal cortex, okay? They do not begin to have access to that part of the brain until what age? Does anybody know? 3, okay? They don't begin to have access. It's not fully developed in women until what age? 25, 26, and men until age 30. That makes sense of a lot, right? So much. To talk about fixing behaviors until we understand this, right? That you need my brain and body to show you how to do it hundreds of thousands of times. Has anybody ever tried to calm a baby when you're not calm yourself? Right? You're like stepping over your spouse who is snoring. And you're like, I can't believe you don't hear this baby again, right? And you're like shaking, so mad, right? I know that it's actually probably never happened to you, but in my house that had happened. And this baby won't even calm down, right? Why? Because her brain and body are made to do what I'm doing. That's why domestic to a kid. Because their primary caregiver is afraid for their life, right? So of course they can't teach that little baby how to calm. So over and over and over again, when we do this, what we lay a foundation for is trust. I trust that safe people will meet my needs, right? Self-worth and self-efficacy is this idea that I have a voice and I matter to the world. I'm important to you. Don't you dare take that juice. I want that juice. You took my juice? No. Boom. Right? That's a baby who has a voice, who knows they're important and they matter. And then we spend the next 28 years, right, teaching them how to use their words and not hit people, right? But that's how it's supposed to look. That's how it's supposed to be. I have a voice and I matter. Because then what they do when they're 3 and they want you to pick them up, they come over to you and they say what? Up. Right? Kids who don't have a voice don't have a way to get their needs met. So when we take this to behavior,
just learned so much, and I was just so encouraged. You know, I feel like I'm in a very hard part, in particular in our journey right now, possibly having to say goodbye when we let down our guard and got excited about being a forever family with Rosie. And then, you know, all these other people around me were just in even more, you know, it made our situation seem so minuscule. We actually had Anne Voskamp, and she, I'm sure you might have heard of her. She's a very well-known author. She was incredible to be, I've always been a fan of hers, to be in a room with her and just hearing her, oh, she just speaks with so much wisdom and so much power. She was just, I could listen to that woman speak all day.
After my husband and I had 6 kids, been married for more than 20 years, we began those 500 signatures to adopt a baby, a little girl with a little broken heart, with literally half a heart from China. We ran a couple of pens dry, filling out, you know how it is, mountains of paperwork. Right from the start of an adoption, we are told that our story has to be about being enough. I agree, Ashley, if someone had had a video camera in my house, would I have passed muster? Good enough, strong enough, ready enough, prepared enough. And then I got to the place in the paperwork that asked, have you ever been treated for depression? Have you ever been to counseling? Have you ever seen a psychiatrist? My pen hovered. And I'm telling you, and maybe you're feeling it here this evening, it can feel like if you show anyone your brokenness, it's your dreams that will get broken. I wanted to scrawl in my answer on that paper. Look, getting help isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that you're doing something right. It's never weak to seek help. It's evidence of being strong. I mean, where can you write it on those adoption papers? Being broken doesn't disqualify you from being a world changer. Being broken is exactly what qualifies you most to be a world changer. You can empathize with the broken. You know a wounded healer. January 1st, 2016, our adoption dossier was accepted in China, and I exhaled relief. The very next day, we found ourselves, January 2nd of 2016, sitting in ER with our then 13-year-old son, only to discover that Malachi had type 1 diabetes, and he would need 6 needles of insulin every day the rest of his life to save his life. And we kind of struggled to breathe through the story that was now unfolding. You could feel like everyone else is sort of mapping out their future, mapping out a new year, and you're sitting there with the map looking for a red arrow that indicates where in the world are you even now. You can make your plans, but it's God's plans that happen. Grieving how plans change is part of God's plan to change us. This life of ours is not our own. He owns our life.
So each day it also started with worship music and just kind of asking the Holy Spirit to be present with us. And it was so powerful to be with people that are all on this broken journey, and we've all been kind of kicked down and stomped on and been through the ringer, but just to be all together and be with each other and to worship God together, it was so beautiful. It might have been my favorite part, and there was an amazing worship band there.
Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing, great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise, it's your.
So I also went to a session with Jamie Finn from Foster the Family blog, not to give up hope, because what we're doing, there's eternal rewards for this. And it was a really encouraging and empowering session with her, and just giving us a lot of scripture to keep us encouraged. I got to speak to her after, and she prayed over the situation with Rosie, and I just felt really encouraged by that. So that was a great one as well.
Do not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize. Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who completes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. And here, Paul is speaking at once to any of you, which we're all in the same boat right now, which is great. None of us are runners. But to anyone who is a runner, he's speaking to you. Run, as in such, because in the couple of months before he came to me, this is just so hard. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want life to be so difficult. There are serious costs to this life. But when we give up these earthly things that are passing away, and we remember that there's something greater yet to come, when we remember that this isn't all there is, that day to day is not all there is for
the last session of the day was probably my favorite of the last day. And one was by JT Olson, and they actually gave us these books. We got these 3 books for free. But this one by JT Olson, he became an orphan through his parents were in a car accident. So his organization is called Both Hands, a faith-based nonprofit serving orphans and widows.
I wonder who's going to take care of us. I know what it's like to be afraid. I know what it's like to wake up the next morning, and for the first 15 minutes, it just seems like a dream. And then for the next 15 seconds, for 15 seconds, and then the next 15 seconds, you fight with everything you can. I don't know how, but you fight to make sure it's a dream. And you realize this isn't a dream. I'm never going to see my mom and dad again.
Last one, I don't know if you've heard of the organization Compassion International. I have, but I didn't know much about the president, and that is Dr. Wes Stafford. And I could listen to that man speak all day. I've almost finished this book. I read it on the way home, on the 8-hour drive home from Chicago. Too Small to Ignore Why Children Are the Next Big Thing. He shares about his story being a missionary as a child, being a missionary's child living in Africa, and how there was no such thing as an orphan there. And when his dad was translating the Bible into the language for the village that they lived in, they had to kind of come up with a word for it because there was no such thing as the word orphan. Just so inspiring to listen to.
We should have seen things differently down here. We should have thought differently down here. We should have felt differently. We should have acted differently. Because you see, the kingdom of our God is different. It's backward, it's upside down, it's inside out. Everything about it. The first are last, the last are first. The weak are strong, the strong are weak. The poor are in fact the rich, and the rich are often poor. The servant is the greatest in our kingdom. Surrender is what leads to victory. Beauty is on the inside, not the outside. So sorry, Hollywood, you got it wrong. The little are big. The orphan is not forgotten, but is center stage in the kingdom of God. So we gather together like this to be strength for one another, a room full of what I think are completely kingdom heroes. We're gathered to talk together, to support one another in the priority of orphan and foster care. We dare to envision a world without orphans, a loving home for every child. What would that look like? What would it take to achieve that? Is it even possible? What needs to change? And ultimately, I would ask, who needs to change? Today, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you.
And this book is amazing, so I recommend it. I haven't read his second one yet, but I can't wait. It's called Just a Minute. In the heart of a child, one moment can last forever. So this has 68 stories that will inspire you to bless a child's life. Just talking about how small things that you do can forever impact or forever change the trajectory of a child's life. And, you know, his passion for kids is just so inspiring. He's got me like all fired up to help kids, to help the next generation. At the very end, they gave us all glow sticks to represent children that we've cared for, so our past foster children, but they turned out the light and they had all the people that were there waving these glow sticks for all the kids that they've cared for, that they've adopted. And it was a really, really powerful moment. And then after that, we exited the auditorium and all the volunteers were cheering and clapping and ringing cowbells, and just, they were holding up signs that say like, what you're doing is important, and you know, you are loved. And again, like I said, I don't foster to feel appreciated or to feel like I need a thank you from someone, but it can often be very thankless. And they just loved on us so well, bawling as I walked out of there. They just did, it was amazing. I'm gonna stop talking about it because there's enough footage and this video is probably gonna be super long, but I just wanna say, go. I encourage you to go. I think it's in October every year, but I believe the Seattle one's in March. I'll double check. If I can find any information, I'll leave it in the description box down below. But it was, just go. If you're a foster parent, especially if you're feeling kind of weary, like I am in this particular spot of our journey, it will encourage you so much. And I would love to meet some of you because I'm planning on going to the next one. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the footage that I inserted. Thank you for being here. Consider subscribing if you're new. I would love to have you like this video if you liked it. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.